start. Excellent. This one, see if it works. Hey, hi everybody, welcome. Good to see you. Hello. Yes, it's a very holiday kind of a background right now. I will say that if I do say so my damn self. Let's see if I can bring you guys in. There you are. Look at that. All right. Well, we're making some level of progress in this. This let's see. This should be one should be larger. This is visually. I get a little nitpicky about this stuff. Hi, how you doing, everybody? Hello, what's going on? Good to see you. Okay, there's that, and then I stretch this down, and it's slightly better, and then we bring this in a little bit. I think this might do it. A little bit of finagling. There we go. Oh my gosh. Oh, it's a double. I see. Hold on. There's the chat is overlapping the chat. There's too much chat going on. There's a whole lot of chatting going on. There you go. That's slightly better, I think. Yes? Is? Excellent. Much, yeah, somewhere near readable. Good to see you. Hi, how's it going? Good to see you. Hello. What did Santa bring me? Well, Santa's in progress. As we have one of these kind of rolling holidays. Anybody else have the rolling holiday? You know what I'm talking about? Where you have the like one group of family and then the other group of family, and then there's this kind of. I missed you too, Carl. It's good to see you guys. Hello, hi, there you are. Hi, Teresa. Hello, Captain Terp. What's happening? Yes, you're so nice. I see you twice. It's worthwhile. Hey, look at that hype train. I guess I take a day off, and you guys appreciate that. That I'm not, I guess nothing in life is promised, I guess, something along those lines. You can hear me okay? Sounds all right. Sounds pretty reasonable. I am in the Kentucky right now, and it's a good time. Hi, Iowa. Hi, Chris. What's happening? Rolling holiday into birthday. Thanks for the Pokecat. Yeah, well, that's. Hi, Andrea. Look at you. Are you up and around? Yes, there's nothing wrong with a little bit of addiction. And I believe Phil's going to be with us at the regular time this morning, this afternoon, this evening. Since I'm on the Kentucky side of things, and CSL is going to be resting, so Andrea is doing all the heavy lifting during this because and we wish him well. We've got there's a lot going around these days. There's a lot of yuck going around, varying degrees of yuck. Yes, there's some COVID, but there's also a decent amount of flu, and we sadly in this house at my dad's house have he's a dog. He's not quite down, but he's getting close. You know the near miss we had with Chud. Well, we've got an old dog here it's not going to be a near miss. He's having a rough one. That's Pete. There's Pete and Flint, and Flint's the younger one, and Pete is getting up there. Poor thing, and yeah. So poor Pete. He had a bit of an episode this morning. Had a seizure and made a bit of a mess on himself, and so we had to clean him up. It's just, it's the holiday stuff. But we're, what the greatest thing about that happening while we were here too is that my son is here. He's 12, and he was all about helping make sure Pete was okay. He wasn't yucked out by the mess that Pete made, and he wasn't worried about, or scared of Pete or any of that kind of stuff while it was happening. He just kind of jumped in there to take care of Pete. And that was really lovely to see. It was very heartening. Yeah. Look at us approaching a level 3 hype train on Twitch. It's nice when I can use the Streamlabs version of OBS occasionally. so I can see all the Twitch action. What's happening, Twitch people? My people. Good to see you. It's early in the show too. Hit that like if you can. That really helps. We got a couple people in here, and a lot of people that don't know we're on today because I wasn't on yesterday and that kind of thing. So liking helps immediately. It pushes us up, sends that reminder out. I'm not going to ever ask you to click the notification bell. And you know what the reason is? And then we'll get on to kind of what I want to talk about. The biggest reason to not hit the notification bell is because sometimes I have to go online just to make sure stuff works at all. And it takes like 9 times to start up and make it work, right? And I would hate for people to get 9 notifications when I'm like, it didn't work. That didn't work. I feel like such a dick. So, there you go. Yes, always on Facebook, send angry emojis. Yes. If you're on Facebook, make sure you use the steamy face. You click notifications, you don't always get it. Yeah, well, I'm being shadow banned by the deep state, which I am the deep state, so I guess I'm yucking my own yum at that point. I don't even know how to. Oh yes, remember the midnight sessions? That's right, Vampy Vet. You know very well. So thank you guys. Don't forget to subscribe if you're on your particular window of the internet, and we will get to some of this stuff in just a moment, if I may. I think there's a bunch of stuff to talk about. There are 2 things. Let's start with this because it's funny. So I don't know if you saw this, but Trump is mad. Okay, so Trump has been usurping money. He's been sucking money out of MAGA world for a while. Every dime that these idiots give to his super PAC or to him directly just gets spent saving his ass. And there's no benefit to House members. There's no benefit to Senate members. It's hilarious. And so that's why we encourage, and I don't know if we have any maggots in here today. It's a little early for them, and they may be taking the holidays off. But if we have any maggots that are in the chat, or you come by later and you're maggot, if you're watching this later, wake up, maggot, I think I've got something to say to you. I hear a new sexy liberal song. Great. Now that's going to be stuck in my head all goddamn day. So anyways, every maggot, I encourage you, don't send money to the rhinos. Do not send money to the RNC. They're worse than the Democrats, says. So what you want to do is send all your money straight to Trump, to him. Because the one thing you will know is that it's never going to be used to get another Republican elected, including him. It is a good thing. So, thanks for subscribing, Owen Rock. Look at that. We're still gathering subscribers. We're not going to hit 100K by the end of the year, but by God, we're going to try. We just keep swinging. We'll look at the rotten hell Trump holiday message. The funny thing is if this asshole actually believed in hell, he wouldn't behave the way he does. It's just funny. Anyways, I always encourage the Trumpers, the maggots, to send their money directly to Trump. Do not send it to any of these rhino organizations or any of these other, God forbid, the super PACs that support Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis and whatever her name is. Rhonda? Is that her first name? Ron DeSantis? And don't send them your money. That's terrible. Wait, a level 6 hype train? What in the world? Oh, Twitch, you guys Twitch people came to play. The YouTube folks are going to have to do a lot of catch up to super chat their way out of this one. Look at you guys. Thank you. That's such a lovely Christmas thing. So anyways, this is an article in Rolling Stone, which used to be a magazine, I think. Trump demands MAGA group give him millions. That's not legal, experts say. Let's start with the point that experts, simmer down. If Trump asks for something or suggests something, most of the time it's not going to be legal. That's the point. If it was legal, another Republican would have done it already. Do you understand? Do you understand what I'm saying? If he could the only reason maggots support him the way they do is because you'd have to break the law to carry out what he's talking about. Of course it's illegal. All right, now, Trump wants a cut from a think tank raising money to support his agenda and staff his administration, sources tell Rolling Stone. So his former aide has been making bank off his name for years, and he wants his cut right now. At least that's how former President Donald Trump sees it. It's my fucking money. The 2024 Republican presidential frontrunner privately vented in October, referring to an alleged sum in tens of millions of dollars. A source with direct knowledge of the matter told Rolling Stone. Trump wasn't talking about a business deal. Rather, he's been grumbling about money donated to a think tank his former staffers and allies founded in 2021 to advance the America First agenda. Now, here's the thing. If you're not just going to punt that money directly to his campaign, what you're admitting, essentially, oh, good, Andrea's home now. Yeah, I just saw that. You're basically admitting that you're planning a world without Trump. That's what that is. That you're trying to do that. Thanks so much. Look at that. I gotta make these. The screen is so small on this that I can't see the little like thingy, the alert box things. Get up here. Where are you? There you are. Like this guy. I gotta make that a little bigger. Dump. There you go. Is that helpful? Let's put that right there. And then we can still see the article and me, but we can at least thanks KJ Doglove, and especially for Pete. Well, that support goes to Pete. Excellent. It might be a little too big. Is it a little too big for people? Okay, I'll work on it. I just my screen is very small when I'm on the road, so I've got to there we go. Excellent. Thanks, guys. So it's my fucking money. The 2024 Republican presidential frontrunner told privately. Trump wasn't talking about a business deal. He's talking about the America First. Okay. For several months now, according to 3 people with knowledge of the situation, the former president has complained to an array of confidants and Republicans about tens of millions raised by the America First Policy Institute, a magafied, that's a terrible word. That's hilarious and terrible. Magafied, it sounds like an insult, actually. It's all, look at it. It's all been magnified. Look at this. What does that mean? Well, it's kind of like being Antifa. It's like they just set it on fire. Think tank launched near the start of his post-presidency. The nonprofit is populated by several former high-ranking Trump administration officials, including Larry Kudlow, Rick Perry, Linda McMahon, and is led by Brooke Rollins, who served as top White House domestic policy aide to Trump. AFPI, the America First Policy Institute, is one of several Trump-allied organizations and think tanks working to craft this blah, 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 ranging from voter crackdowns to potentially invading Mexico. Great. In his mind, in Trump's mind, Rollins making a killing off his name, sources recount, was stiffing Trump. It's not right, the former president has groused in recent months. Doing what Trump has privately suggested would raise several legal issues. 4 experts told Rolling Stone FBI is a tax-exempt education nonprofit and is expressly barred under IRS rules from spending money on elections or donating to a political candidate like Trump. Given that Trump is a candidate for office, paying him personally could be seen as attempting to aid a political campaign. Like that. Of course it is. Of course. Stop it. Stop. Don't try to use logic in this. It's embarrassing. One of the experts pointed out the tax-exempt nonprofits must also operate for public benefit. Well, then this one should probably shut down. And they cannot disproportionately benefit private individuals or pay them more than fair market value for their services. This is where Trump's problem is. Trump thinks all he's got to do is just value his worth at billions, right? And then la-di-da. Yeah? All the money is fair market value because I am priceless. I don't even know if she would legally be allowed to give him that. Okay, that's silly. It's unclear if Trump actually knows the total amount of what FPI has raised. Oh, he knows. Oh, yeah. Trump has stated his belief that his money is held in an account by Brooke and that she can easily transfer it to him personally if she wanted to do so. In some of his discussions on the topic, Trump has said he's willing to settle for just half of the haul. What an asshole. Half of the haul. Two people with knowledge of the matter say he suggested he'll let Rollins off easy and she can keep the rest of the cash. This has become such a common complaint from Trump that members of his campaign staff, longtime political allies, attorneys advising him, media pals, GOP lawyers, former elected officials have all heard about it from Trump. According to three sources, the grievances baffle some of Trump's associates as it demonstrates how warped the former president's understanding is of money, organization, and law. Shut up. Shut up. Shut up. That is so funny. Remember how I told you guys that Larry Kudlow and Sean Hannity and all these guys, the biggest thing they struggle with Trump, the biggest thing they struggle with Trump is that they know they're smarter than he is. Even if they think they're stupid, they all, either from an ego point of view or from just a shocking revelation while they're talking to him, go, this guy's fucking stupid. And that means he's been blathering this garbage to everyone. Oh, demonstrate how warped the former president's understanding is of money, organization, and the law. You're just waking up to that now. You're just finally realizing that now, are you? Shit. Trump has at times asked if the lawyers should get involved in this supposed financial matter. I said it was a bad idea. One of the people who Trump discussed with this with bluntly says, to be clear, there's no real reason the think tank should give Trump the cash, and there are obvious legal reasons for it not doing so. Yeah, it's not even like the Trump thing. It's just the America First thing, which is something, it's a name he ripped off. The Thortheth ad that Trump hath been consistently, gently told, fucking hell, that it's not Rollins' cash but money raised for a nonprofit group. What do you think he did? He called Eric immediately, and Eric just went, "I know." No matter how many times this has been explained to the former and possibly future leader of the free world, he apparently refuses to accept the logic. He fires back that the only reason the think tank and other MAGA-friendly groups get so many donations is because of Trump's name and my brand, and therefore he's entitled to a substantial cut, which is exactly what a billionaire would say. You know what I mean? Like, if you were a billionaire, wouldn't you be on the warpath against all your friends and always accusing people of raising money off your name? Wouldn't you? Wouldn't you just be clamoring for every million here? You're worth $9,000 million according to you, right? That's his number. And yet every little million, it's like, quit, it makes no sense to me. I mean, I think you'd be mildly upset if you were like, I've been ripped off for millions. That would destitute other people. Luckily, I'm okay, but this is just these people. I'm just worried about them doing it to other folks. Right? If you were a billionaire, wouldn't that kind of be your reaction? I mean, I love playing if you're a billionaire, but yeah, if he's a billionaire, then I'm a millionaire. Right? Exactly, Georgina. Wouldn't that be your response if you were like loaded beyond measure, that the only reason you'd really go after somebody who stole money from you is like, Jesus, if they'll steal money from me with the lawyers I got, you imagine what they'll do to little people? Let's screw these people. Hal should sue Fire for using the concept of sparks. Yeah, that's in my Gene Simmons ears. That's right. This is so good though. Mark Lofter, API's communications director, wrote in an email. This story is typical fake news. Oh my God, Trump's going to sue him for using all caps fake news, and it's easily disproved with the simple fact: in the past 3 years, Trump has headlined a half dozen events for AFPI, including our Hispanic Leadership Conference in Miami, his first return to Washington D.C., the big tech lawsuit, 3 fundraising events at Mar-a-Lago, as recently as last month. Right. That's why he's getting increasingly pissed, stupid. Yeah, mega donors. Florida Scientologist Trish Dugan, who previously donated $9 million to America First and gave $5 million to another pro-Trump outside group this year. Goya Foods CEO Robert Yunan, a director of the AFPI board and 2020 election denier. He gave 100K. Really? Scientologists have that kind of money compared to the Goya dude? I guess he's being sensible. He's spreading his money around. Let's see. Texas. Well, okay, Tim Dunn, Cody Campbell. Yeah, but it's a nonprofit. They're not getting any money. They're like, I don't know what they're spending it on, but they're not spending it on them necessarily, right? Pre-baked government and waiting. Okay, that's the arranging. Like, if you're in on this, then later on you'll be a member of the cabinet. It's like they're promising. Yeah, yeah. Anyways, hilarious. It's like hilarious. He's such a sad old fart that nobody gets along. He's not gonna. Okay. Meanwhile, while remember how Trump has been mad that he can't get money from banks. The banks won't even give you money, guys. The banks won't even give you money, even if you could get it. The interest rates are insane, and you can't even get it anyways. That's because he can't get it. That's because he needs to restructure a bunch of his loans. Oh, the audio is low on my end. Okay, I will try and see if I can. Where's my mouse? There it is. Bring this guy up a little bit, perhaps. Oh, you know what? It might even be in here. Open my sound. Excellent. And then the input. It might. Oh, look at that. It is turned down. That's weird. Now it's up. I don't know why somebody would do that. I'm pretty loud now. Is that better? Sorry, guys. My for whatever reason, my computer just decided to lower the audio. Yep. Okay. Okay. Fine. Audio fine. Okay, that's fine. It's fine and fine. Okay. If I'm too loud now, let me know. Anyways, yeah, that looks like that's hitting the red line. Hey, you can hear. Yeah, I'm too loud. You can't hear me now. Okay. I'm gonna bring this down a touch. There we go. And so hopefully it'll be okay. We'll be in the zone, and it's all right. Yes, much better. Okay. Now. Meanwhile, while Trump is complaining he can't get loans and he can't, he doesn't own a home. I mean, he's got a couple of rental properties he squats at, but he doesn't have a home. So I thought I'd introduce you guys to this little nugget from Bloomberg, which points to a really rough spring for Republicans in terms of the housing market and inflation in general, and I'll show you. U.S. housing market shows signs of life after mortgage rates fall. Existing home sales, housing starts, and buying plans surge. Mortgage rates fall on anticipation of Federal Reserve cuts because people know that it's going to go down anyway, so they'll be able to get the money on the back end so banks can lend out money slightly lower, at a lower rate. Even before the Federal Reserve has begun cutting interest rates, the mere anticipation of such moves, I know, knowledge is good, of such moves is already thawing the U.S. housing market. A series of reports this week show activity coming back to life. Housing starts surged to a 6-month high. Sales of previously owned homes picked up from a 13-year low, and builder optimism was boosted by increased interest from prospective buyers. Meanwhile, Meanwhile, Americans' home buying plans rose this month by the most in more than a year. The bounce back comes as mortgage rates have declined by more than 1 percentage point in 8 weeks, the biggest drop over a comparable period since 2009, while the Fed last week signaled it's finished its run of rate hikes and is preparing to cut in 2024. Investors have already been scooping up treasuries, driving down yields among borrowing costs such as mortgage rates that tend to reflect fluctuations in the bond market. So houses will get easier to buy, especially in the spring when people finish the school year and start doing it through the summer. And then right before the end of the school year, if you have a booming housing market, again, sort of akin to late, 2020 when people were going, I got to work from my home, so I got to buy a new home or get a new home built. And they just decided to invest in it and go for it because they're never going back to the office because the world is going to be in lockdown forever. Remember that? Okay, that was a huge leap. And Trump benefited from that, effectively like the fear angle of the economics of it, in 2020, and gave him that we rebuilt it and then we rebuilt it again. The first time he's saying they rebuilt it, that's because people were buying homes at an incredibly fast clip because they thought we were going to just stay in them forever. We thought, nope, like all commercial real estate was over. This is back when people were like, will we ever hug again? Will we ever shake hands again? That shit, remember that? Okay. That's during this part. By the way, if I may, don't forget to hit that like and that subscribe and that thing, and join the Patreon because we got a Discord for you. We've got comedy shows for you. By the way, I do not have a comedy show tonight, which should be fairly obvious since I'm in Kentucky because of the shuffle around and the family timing and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. But however, starting in the new year, instead of having a Wednesday night, I will be doing Fridays at 10, the last Friday of the month at Flappers. So that will be the new timing on it. So there you go. Just saying. Yeah. People who didn't need to were forced back in the office because businesses were losing money on commercial property. Yep, it is. Look at that. It's cooking. Hold on. Got to do the old tilt up. Get some air under this thing. Yeah, that was certainly a concern, but we will. Let's see if I can get this. This is so. Hold on. Oh, what's wrong with you? I've already got this article up. I wanted to show you another one on. Scroll up, you rat. There you go. Yeah, here it is. This is the other thing too. This is so Bloomberg and so the market people and how they talk and all this stuff. Let me show you. This is, here we go. U.S. Hold on. U.S. stock rally loses steam near all-time highs. Just think about what it takes to type a sentence like that. Loses steam near all-time highs. Treasuries advance, crude oil falls from highest in a month. Bitcoin climbs as optimism builds about ETF approval by SEC. Yeah, that's a sucker's game. Okay. The Santa rally has left many investors complacent, said Thomas A. As we start 2024, markets will need to see new positive catalysts to send the S&P 500 to all-time highs. Again, this is just jabber. Look at this. Signs of overheating. Oh, no, that's sad, Andrea. Oh, no. Tommy Smothers passed away. Andrea's just let me know in the chat room from the Smothers brothers. He was such a sweetheart, but a fierce anti-war advocate and a very smart, lovely human being. We'll talk about him later on today as we get more information and all that kind of stuff, and they go into it. I mean, he was elderly, so long storied, important life there. So lots to talk about, but certainly not and he made it through Christmas. Leave it to Tommy to make people get him more gifts, that he can't even use. That's a kind of a Smothers Brothers joke, but never mind. We'll talk about that later on. The economy is not a 2002 Corolla. Nope, apparently not. Yeah. So this is the whole thing. This is S&P. This is 50. This is 100. These like It's too much. It's doing too well. Optimism about the Fed having potentially won the war against inflation is at best excessive, as data in coming months will likely persuade officials to delay rate cuts until May at the earliest, according to Jose Torres at Interactive Brokers. Yeah, what they don't realize, it doesn't matter to us. If you don't make millions off the transfer of nickels and dimes, if nickels and dimes still mean nickels and dimes to you, like they do to most of us, it's a plus. If giant movements of money happen in the margins and that's where you live, you're going to look at this and go, oh, it's not even going to happen until it'll be at least 4 weeks longer than people think. This is not, this is terrible. I mean, if you really think about it, it's not going anywhere. Like, that's how they process stuff. The other thing too is, and let's see if they can do, yeah. So this is a half-assed story, but we'll talk about this. This is Chinese car maker overtakes Tesla as the world's most popular EV maker. Now, what's funny about this story? Couple things. One is that colloquially, BYD, the Chinese electric car maker, is known as the BYD stands for burn your driveway, because their batteries suck and the cars catch fire and they cause terrible, horrible fires to cascade through entire neighborhoods. Also, BYD was one of the big companies that did these like early rideshare programs in China that never went anywhere. So when you see those fields of electric cars, those are BYD cars. So the fact that they have sold far more than Tesla has, for example, is stupid, because they're sitting and rotting in fields. It's a PR push. I mean, the Chinese government can just buy the cars and drive them out into a field and park them. It doesn't matter. So the idea somehow that this is indicative of actual sales is kind of ridiculous. The good part is that they did it by stealing Tesla technology, and basically the BYD cars are all Tesla ripoffs that are effectively made from copycats of his factory there, that are undermining his business share there, which is going to basically destroy his business over time. So that's funny. Yeah, Elon Musk once scoffed at the notion that BYD could compete with his company. Now the automaker, run by billionaire Wang Chuanfu, is poised to be the new number one in electric vehicles. Again, that's because they make dump offs. Yeah, there's the song. Yeah, it's the 130,000 yuan. Yeah. Yeah, these are their two little like mini commuter models. Yeah. Europe looks poised to join the U.S. in slapping Chinese car imports with higher tariffs to shield thousands of manufacturing jobs. And to keep them from causing entire neighborhoods to burn down. China's car exports catch up with Japan's. Yeah, but where are they going? They're mostly going to Russia. It's pretty funny. So, yeah. And by the way, at a much lower price point. Yeah. Yeah, they look like these. It's yeah. Yeah, there's the Yangwang U8 electric SUV, which is a ripoff of the Bronco, right? It's basically just the Bronco, electric Bronco. Again, they're further down. Bloomberg dicks around for a lot longer than most publications before they get to the yeah buts. While the level of government subsidies has played a role in China's tremendous EV growth, has it? Has it now? Has it really? Paul Gong, a UBS's Group AG out of China Autos Research, believes the bigger factor is the level of competition that this support spawned. They have to work on the innovation. They have to try and find what consumers really want. They have to optimize their costs to make sure their EVs are competitive in this highly competitive market. And then they have to dump a lot of the mid models in a fucking field. Yeah, and you'll look like this is Australia's just buying a bunch of BYDs. BYD. Um, yeah, 1,000 or more units. Passenger vehicle sales fewer than 1,000. Data unavailable. So there was 1,000 or more units sold here in China, obviously part of India and Australia. Maybe some Norway and some Sweden. No, yeah, something up in there. And then, yeah, Toyota. China's top car maker cracks the top 10. Yeah, again. Yeah, good luck. X suffers biggest out. When did that happen? Did I sleep through it? Did I just not care? I guess so. So, anyways, back to where we were. And I end up going down a rabbit hole of this stuff. Um, Massive dumps, huge dumps. Yeah. I don't know if I'd buy a car made by a company called Yang Wang, but that's just me. It sounds like a bunch of winkies. Right. Well, the car is a BYD. It's Yang Wang is the model. Yang Wang. Yeah, Yang Wang is the model number. Yeah. Um, the important part is that this is for all the people who are saying that Elon Musk is a genius and can't be beaten, blah blah blah. He's even being beaten by the people who were ripping him off while he was moving his stuff to China to rip off American workers. It's just so on the nose. It's so on the nose. All right, and timing wise, where are we? Hold on, I'm gonna do a time check because I don't have a. Okay, we're good. Um, the Yang computer got a lot of traction. That's true. Um, I think there's some very awesome twits that are still there. That sounds fun. Hi everybody. By the way, hit the like if you're in here. Let's we'll get to some more like kind of socially weird stuff in just a moment, and then of course Phil will be joining us. I believe he's back in Kiev during. Yeah, I believe he's back in Kiev this morning, and we'll go to here real quick and the ridiculous near and check in on the what used to pass for trends. Can you tell that like well, I guess this is more of a question. Can anybody in the chat room tell me what the difference is between X, shitter, as we like to call it around these parts? What's the difference between shitter and Parlor or Gab or Truth Social, other than the fact that you've got more like Democrat trolls on shitter making fun of stuff that because they don't have accounts on these other things because why would you? Anybody know the difference? Because all of this stuff is just it's all about Trump world. Tommy Smothers is way down here. Birther, like Don Jr., Where's Melania, Massey, Eric, Baron Trump, Tesla stock, Brad Raffensperger, and Geraldo. Why in the world is Geraldo the top trending thing? Oh, because he said the Michigan Supreme Court did the right thing. Did the right thing, rejecting attempts to keep Donald Trump on the Michigan Supreme Court. No shortcuts, all these cases, da da da. And then Trump did have a half-assed notion that if he incited enough disorder, he could muddy the results of the 2020 election. Whether that constitutes insurrection is decided. Okay, so he's in a back and forth about what constitutes insurrection. Reasonable Republican running is not true. One day you should recognize. Okay, blah blah. And then there's another Geraldo. This fellow right here is very Jose Geraldo, who looks like the dude from Poltergeist. The old man from Poltergeist. So, okay, Geraldo back and forth about, yeah, you could kind of call it insurrection, I guess, maybe, but Michigan should have just leave him on the ballot. Right, okay, who cares? Brad Raffensperger. There's Tara. There's our dear friend Tara. Hi, Tara. The only thing trying to steal 2020 election, Georgia, was Donald Trump. Here's Trump pressuring, oh, I see. So people... did not steal the election for Biden. It's actually the opposite. He rigged the other way, along with other to rig it against Stacey Abrams. This is an argument to be made there. Georgia Secretary refused to testify under oath about the security of Dominion voting machines in a recent decision. A legal challenge against. Hold on. Is this the reason? In a recent decision, the Totenberg determined that the legal challenge against Georgia's electronic voting machine should proceed to a bench trial in January. The ruling mandates the Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger, justify the state's use of these electronic voting systems before a forthcoming presidential primary in light of concerns raised in the lawsuit about the security and susceptibilities of computerized system hacking. Meanwhile, the state, utilizing public funds, is seeking intervention from the 11th Circuit Court appeals to prevent Raffensperger from having to testify. No, they're not. They're trying to stop this trial from gacking up the election in the state. Also, why would Brad Raffensperger know about? That's it, CSL. Jesus Christ. Ugh. He just posted a picture of the old man from Poltergeist in the Discord. Jesus. Ask. He's not. I'm sure it's not. What could he testify about the actual technology around Dominion voting machines? What would he know other than they cleared their teams and that kind of stuff? What is he going to testify that he doesn't know anything about code, or he does know something about code? It's just stupid. They're trying to gack up the election in Georgia because they know Trump's going to lose it again. Rudy calls. Sorry. Later, Ruby would confess to voter fraud before being silenced by. Article from 2020. Rudy Giuliani identifies Ruby Freeman, Shane Moss, calls for them to be subpoenaed. Later, Ruby would confess to vote fraud before being silenced by. Confess to. Oh, Ruby would confess to voter fraud. No, she didn't. I guess it doesn't matter. Like this, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's camping right. This is big. No, it isn't. They don't need to do a trial around this stuff. It's going to go to a bench trial and then it's going to get tossed out because they have no basis for it. This is a waste of time. Tesla stock, what is it, going up or down because of stuff? Up 2 points today. That's who cares? And that's probably from a week ago. Okay, Barron Trump. Why? 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 Oh. What is this? Do you agree that Barron Trump would destroy Joe Biden in a debate? Yes or no? What the hell? No. Why would anybody? What has he got? Like political and market manipulation smarts by osmosis? What are you talking about? That's so weird. Why would you even do that? What is? Yeah. And look, and by the way, because he's 18 years old, does not mean that like and now he's now he's on limits, as it were. Now he's within bounds to mess with him. Like he grew up a kid in this situation. He just turned 18. Like he doesn't need to be involved in any of this shit at all. And Munchausen, what? Somebody got Munchausen. Oh, I see. They're talking about. Why in the world? Munchausen by proxy is unique to females. What is this? Okay, who cares? I had the word Munchausen just getting a stack in there. Eric, this has got to be Trump, right? No. Well, Tommy Smothers passed. That's Eric Clapton. All right. Eric Alper. These are James Spader in the 80s was peak villain. I got to say I like him better as a good guy in Jack's Back and and in Bad Influence. Those are two like utterly watchable movies for me. Oh, I have this picture, by the way, on my laptop because I had it there, and I had to explain to my kid that this was not a AI picture of him. That somebody wasn't like trying to make a Jabba the Hutt picture. It's like that's not AI because it looked like it. No, this. Oh yeah, this is Thomas Massey and yeah, singularly one of the dumbest people. Because I was inspired to do it. What? What? Richard Leo Terra? I have no idea. People are donating to Thomas Massey. Campaigning for Ron DeSantis. Oh, that's hilarious. Oh, well, put a pin in that guy. That's the end of that one. Both of them. That's fun. Okay. Um, it's so funny how these guys bounce back and forth between like being like full on flailing maggots to try and cover for this stuff. Oh wait, am I close to? Hold on. Okay, I got 5 minutes. We're good. I thought that's the problem with these internet holes. Massey, where's Melania? That's been a thing that's been running for a little bit. She's not in the picture. Is that what the idea is? Oh yeah, Trump, Marlo family, Kimberly Guilfoyle shares on the tree, but no Melania. Hmm. I mean, that is odd. I mean, granted, you know what also looks odd? Can we look at this picture for a second? You know what also looks very odd? It's it's their Christmas picture and they're all in suits. Jesus, there's no like you don't even have like Kardashian level pajamas that you get to wear and sit around the tree. There's no opening of presents. Like they look like they're posing at a Christmas Seals um, charity ball that they crashed. Is that is it just me or is that just like weird? Yeah, that it's so formal. Maybe they went to church. That's hilarious. No, they did not go to church. You know how I know? Because there'd be all these pictures of, holy shit, Trump's going to church. They didn't go to church. They did not go to church. Seriously. They're not a family? Well, that's kind of the point, I think. Yeah, I think that's kind of what we're concluding. Is super weird. Why are you in suits on Christmas morning? If that's indeed like did you pre-shoot the family photo? Right? Because that's yeah, and they get their own. I guess maybe everybody got their own picture. Don and his kids and Eric and his kids or whatever. Yeah. No, this I don't know why this one was around. Some woman got a picture with him at this thing, but he just put out this 2-second video.
Where's Hunter? Where's Hunter? Where's Hunter?
That's it. Where's Melania? Yeah, and a bunch of the maggots are trying to figure it out. I gotta say, this is not the picture I would choose of the two of them if I was trying to show that they were close. They look like they're haunting someone's property. They look like ghosts that are a little too vivid. There they are. Yeah, the old the Black Widow couple. Yeah, yeah. Everybody was like, how was that old fart too dumb to see it coming? But apparently he was. Yep, not in there. Oh, quit it. Yeah, that whoever did this will be met with fire. Oh, thanks. Is that my chili? Can I have it and a spoon? Or do you want to put it upstairs and I'll heat it up? No, put it upstairs. Put it in the kitchen. I'm not gonna eat on the air with eating chili. That's no bueno. They went out and got food, and so they were so far out in the country. That's how long it took to like make a food run. They started before I started the show. Oh, I see. And this is so this is what he was doing on Christmas, apparently. He was on his iPad griping about the news at a table full of old people. With, I guess none of his kids around. Is that the idea? Yike. Okay, hold on. Let me get. I think Phil's gonna be in here in a second. Yeah, let me set this up in here. It's always a thing. It's always excellent. Put this in here. Enable that. And raring to go whenever he gets in here. Excellent. Okay, now back to this thing. Hi. I don't know why birther is trending again, other than, oh, I see. Oh, of course. This is, well, she's, it's a, what I tell you guys about Republicans and a woman of color running for office? What I say? What did I say? Oh, Melissa, thank you so much for the Venmo. Appreciate it. Yeah, I don't even have it up on the screen. That's how lovely you are. I just find it fascinating that anybody thinks that the Republican Party as a whole will vote, that the base will turn out for Nikki Haley. Because I got news for you. There is an alternate universe where Nikki Haley, as a Democrat, runs and wins. Different political beliefs and what have you, and obviously, she would, but if she, if what did it say, five issues at random, if she was a Democrat or she leaned Democratic on these things, or even talked like she could make a bridge across, and we had I don't know, if Joe Manchin was the Democrat running, and she was the Republican, she could beat him doing that with Democrat crossovers in mass. That kind of thing. It's not going to happen. Nothing even close to happen. That is going to happen, but it's pretty hilarious. Nikki Haley is an anchor baby. Pass it on. Proud to be a birther because of being a birther is based on, the original birther. The original birther was Donald Trump. Yeah, but Oh, I hear him in the background. He just popped in there. Yeah, hold on. I'm going to grab the link and get Phil back with us in just a moment. Ooh, loud. But I'll fix that. Hold on 1 second. In my ear, I will remedy it in a moment. He's been traveling, I'm guessing, so hopefully he can hang. It's going to be, let's see. Hold on 1 second. Make sure this works. Close this. Ooh. Almost. Oh, there it is. Okay. And I'm going to shuffle some stuff over. That allows me to do this. Go to here. Yep. There we go. Okay. Well, you're off center. So, Phil, you'll have to center yourself before I can. There you go. That's a little better. Excellent. Okay, cool. Now I will be able to I'll turn his audio on, and we'll be able to bring him in. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back in Kiev after much travel. Our dear friend Philip Bittner.
Yeah.
What's happening? Are you exhausted? Are you okay?
No, I'm jet lagged as you can imagine, but I'm
yes.
okay. I'm
all right.
I'm
yeah.
settling back in.
Of course. Good to see you. Obviously, like I guess since you've been under it the entire time. I don't know. Did you sleep on the train? How are you doing just on a personal level? What's the city like when you arrived?
I
What was the
mostly
scene?
slept on the train. Snow is gone.
Mm-hmm.
Very unusually warm weather.
Right.
um, of course, the big news is the attack in Feodosia in
Theodosia. Yeah, I was
Crimea.
going to ask you how to describe that. Let me see if I can, and I'll bring it up on screen. So, by the way, everybody, welcome to the show. This is Philip Bittner. If you're joining in just this hour, just don't forget to hit the like. Philip's on all your socials. He's Ittner Philip on Shitter and Philip Ittner everywhere else, especially on YouTube. You should check out his vlogs, which I'm sure now that he's back in Kiev, there will be new ones on the
Yep.
relative regular. So let me, yeah, yeah, well, because I
As
mean,
I can.
yeah, exactly. So let me see if I can get this. Yeah, hold on, and then I need to put the display in so we can see. So yeah, catch everybody up on where it's Cherkask.
The Novocherkassk.
Yeah, I wasn't that
Um,
wasn't half bad.
no,
Yeah,
yeah. Which was moored at a place called Feodosia in
yeah,
Crimea. Feodosia, heretofore thought to be relatively safe.
right.
It was a large frigate size ship. It was a landing craft,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that might have been their last. The Black Sea Fleet is supposed to have had three, and there was one destroyed and then another one damaged. I don't know if beyond repair, and now this thing sank. It
Right.
was hit by a British Storm Shadow cruise missile launched by Ukrainian fighter jets,
Mm-hmm.
and it sank this rather large um,
Mm-hmm.
landing vessel, which could have been used if they wanted to do another run at Odessa, for example.
Right.
Which I mean, that just I mean, aside from all the other reasons, I mean, it's got to be sinking in to even the most
Yeah.
willfully ignorant person. They're never going to get Odessa back.
No. Let's see if I can
They're
bring
never
this
going to get
up
Odessa
on screen. It should. Yeah, it's a little sloppy. I'll move it around. But this
Do you have the
is
actual hit? Do you have the explosion?
no. I don't think so. I just have the. I mean, I could probably find it. I would say, but
It's not too hard to find, but yeah.
yeah,
I mean, they got it good. They got it
yeah,
real good.
yeah,
They hit it. They hit it hard.
yeah,
And also it's also important that it happened in Feodosia.
yeah.
Because Feodosia is, how do I explain Feodosia? Feodosia is like a summer community. It's a proper town. It's a proper sized, city town.
Right.
I don't know what the population is, but it's where a lot of Russians have their summer homes, and it was meant to be
Right.
beyond the reach of the Ukrainians, because the Ukrainians are not supposed to strike. There's some agreement that they have with NATO that it's a lot of people are making a big deal out of it, but
Right.
they're not supposed to strike like more than 500 miles into Russia, and that broke
Yeah.
that agreement or something. However, those who say on the Ukrainian side, these were shot from they were shot from fighter jets.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a little pedantic. It's a little
Right.
it's a rhetorical question at this point. They fired from the jets within the limit and also this limit is another thing that's being openly discussed. This kind of like, do we have the right to tell the Ukrainians not to use how to use these weapons when
Right.
they get them?
Right.
And Crimea is Feodosia is a perfectly legitimate target. That ship was 100% legitimate target.
Right.
But coming back to what Feodosia is and where it is in the mentality of the Russians is it's this idyllic. If you're middle class in Russia, which is a very small group of people, but if you're middle class, you can afford to get a nice little summer cottage in a place like Feodosia.
Mm-hmm.
And because of prior freedom of movement, which doesn't exist anymore, of course, but
Mm-hmm.
prior freedom of movement, you could spend your summer months in a lovely, idyllic place on the Black Sea. I know somebody who has a dacha in Feodosia, and
Wow.
it's just this message of Crimea. It's going to become increasingly unavoidable that Crimea is on the table,
Right.
and that's going to be a big deal for Putin. It's going to
Yeah.
be a really, really big deal for Putin. So this was a big win.
Yeah.
This was a really big win and a good
And
one.
they hit
Sad
they
news.
hit a ship too. Hold on one second. So this is the explosion itself. At the base. There you go. So
I love that.
yeah. And apparently that's an enormous explosion.
That's a big boom.
Yeah.
That's a really, really
yeah.
big boom.
There's people talking.
Вот зря мы сюда пошли, там осколки
And
будут
people are
лететь.
saying,
Yeah.
imagine if we'd given like 50 of these things,
Right.
these Storm Shadows, the UK French cruise missile.
Well,
What if we'd given
Yeah.
75, 100, 200 of these things? We
Yeah.
got them in the stockpile.
Yeah, and this is this is the harbor that they hit, and they managed to hit this. There's two satellite images. There's a boat. There's the boat gone. There's the boat.
Mm-hmm.
There's the boat gone. So I mean, they were precise with this attack. I mean, they obviously hit the port as well, but they hit the boat first with something else. Is the idea, I guess?
Well, they must have had a spotter
Yeah.
on the ground. Somebody must have been on the ground. There's just no way it could have been that precise without direct contact with satellites, which we're not doing.
Right.
It's and for a variety of reasons, and also it wouldn't make sense for us to give them satellite guidance. So there must have been somebody on the ground. At least satellite guidance from our satellites, from our military satellites.
Right.
Satellites being what they are today, you can get all sorts of open source stuff. So, it's possible that it was done with some assistance from a satellite, but I'm betting more than anything else that there was somebody on the ground there.
Right. Lasering it.
Guiding it in. Yeah, lasering it in.
Yeah.
But you're right. They hit exactly what they wanted to hit.
And no more.
They took out the ship. And no more. And that ship is an amphibious landing craft.
That's right.
That's what you would use if you were going to make a run at Odessa. That's exactly what you would use.
Yeah, the Novocherkassk.
And again, to my mind, I think they're gone. I think that's the last one that's functional.
Mm-hmm.
Which means they're not getting Odessa back.
Another one went down here. They don't really say what that one is. You can't tell in this, in the imagery that's here. But there were like 3 ships that sank. One, this one's destroyed. It's still afloat, or it's in dry dock, so it's just hanging there, but it's not going to go anywhere. This one sank, and this one sank, and then you can see the damage done to the interior.
This is from a country that doesn't have a navy, and
right.
it's kicking the hell out of the Black Sea Fleet. They're forcing the Black Sea Fleet to continually move easterly. It's at some point there has to be a recognition that the Ukrainians there's a very good chance that they are going to make Crimea unsustainable.
That's the ship that sank. That's the Novocherkassk.
Novocherkassk.
Yeah, that's it. So it is no longer able to bring ammunition, arms, soldiers, other military equipment to a place like Odessa. That's just over. And maybe their last remaining one, certainly in the Black Sea. I'm sure they have others.
They'd have to build a whole new one, and they don't have shipyards down there.
Right.
So it's not looking good for. Now, I mean, there's also that's the big news. That's the headline news.
Right.
And it's a good headline news, and we could talk much more about it, but there's some bad news coming out of Marinka, Avdiivka, that kind of those front lines.
Yeah.
It's not doing well. Russians are gaining ground.
Right.
But again, I still contend that line of attack um, is far less important than what's happening south
Yes.
in the river crossing.
Hmm.
And I don't know why the Russians are absolutely obsessed with places like Avdiivka or Bakhmut or
Right.
these kind of. They're just transport hubs. And out in Donbass, they're all transport hubs.
Yeah.
Everything is a transport hub because there's this spider-like network of roadways because that was their industrial east where you would smelt something here and then you'd form it there and
Yeah.
then you'd connect it to another thing there, so you had to have this roadway. And everybody keeps talking about how these are the entrance points to the Donbass. This is how they can defend and keep the Donbass. The Russians don't care about
Right.
Donbass. Donbass is a means to an end.
Hmm.
Donbass is all about Sevastopol. This war,
Hmm.
a huge chunk of this war, is all about Sevastopol and the Black Sea Fleet and having
Right.
a warm water port. That is a significant part of this war. So Donbass is a means to an end, for which always it always tickles me.
Hmm.
Well, it doesn't tickle me. Black humor makes me laugh about how the people who are pro-Russian or
Yes.
are all like, oh, but the poor downtrodden people of Donbass. Well, if the Russians really cared about the people of Donbass, why did they throw those units, those
Hmm.
militias, into the meat? Those were the first units when this war started. They sent all the guys from Luhansk and Donetsk into the meat grinder first. They
Right.
don't care about Donbass. They don't care about the Russian language being spoken or not spoken or what's taught in the schools. It's a means to an end. It's a land bridge to Crimea. That's all
Right.
but they seem absolutely fixated on the road
Yeah.
network that would help them keep hold of Donbass. And
Is that
I
is that
know
a
why
yeah.
strategically they want it, but
Yeah. There's also I guess the impact that I think they've given up entirely on air superiority or air power as a factor in this. So the roads become increasingly more important if you think you're never going to be able to trust planes flying over the territories, right? If you really had airplanes and you could bomb Kiev or something like that, you could get in close enough, you could have fighter jets nearby without them being blown out by the Patriot systems or what have you, then you wouldn't need the roads as much. The roads would be a secondary factor, or you'd come across flatlands after the airplanes had cleared it. But their increasing tie to these roads seems to me to be a strategic admission that they are never going to have the air, and so
yeah.
it's open
Well,
fields
and
or
yeah,
highways, and highways are better.
and now we're hearing. I mean, the F-16's here. The F-16's flying right now. I would, if I were a betting man.
Yeah.
I have no proof of this, no
Hmm.
proof whatsoever. But if I were a betting man, I would put money down on F-16s already being in the air. Something is actually happening right now with the air war out east.
Hmm.
There's a lot of talk of a lot of air battles going on right
Right.
now. And the Russians have moved their what's their latest Sukhoi
38.
35s,
Yeah.
38s.
Maybe.
There's a lot of talk about them flying in the east. Something's up.
Right.
Something, I don't know what, but there's a very distinct change when we're talking about what's happening out east when it comes to air power. So we'll see.
Largely because we've seen what 5 jets, like 2 bombers, 3 bombers. 3 bombers and 5 jets have been, Russian ones have been destroyed in the last, month?
Yes, there's that too. Is that they're losing a lot of air power.
Right.
We've got 2 more, the 2 extra Patriot batteries that came from Germany.
Yeah.
I'll bet you they're either already here or they're here imminently.
Yeah.
Now, I've said in the past that I believe one of those should go down to Odessa because Odessa desperately needs it, because they're just getting pelted. but you could say, I mean, the way Kherson right now is being pelted, they could use the Patriots.
Hmm.
And then what do you do with the other one? What do you do with the third one? Do you put that on in a very aggressive forward position so that it can help the troops,
Right.
to keep them, to protect the troops from Russian air power? I mean, look, this is all armchair general stuff for me. I've covered wars for 25 years, but
Yeah.
I've been a war correspondent. I'm not a professional.
Yeah.
I'm a guy who comments on what I tell you what the professionals tell me,
Right.
and I educate myself by speaking to these guys. But at the end of the day, I'm not a general.
Yeah.
I'm not. So I don't know exactly what they're going to do with the Patriots, but I certainly hope one goes to a city, um, a city like Odessa or Kherson.
Hmm.
I wouldn't mind terribly if one goes to protecting ground troops. I mean, these guys have it hard. Boy, I'm looking at some of the footage of the fighting out in the east, and
Right.
that ground is frozen. That
Yeah.
ground is frozen
Yeah.
solid.
Yeah.
So it's very hard to dig in and defend. But again, I contend that it's more important for the Russians to defend the ground that they're taking
Yep.
than it is for the Ukrainians to defend the ground that they're taking. Because again, what needs to be done in the south is to sever the land bridge and to
Hmm.
make sure the Russians realize that Crimea is at risk.
Hmm.
And you can do that without having to dig in. You can do that by maneuver
Hmm.
better than you can up north, where the Russians are going to have to dig in because there'll be counteroffensives.
Right.
The Ukrainians are going to come back. They're gonna want that territory back. So the Russians won't be able to dig in.
Right.
But this is a bad time to be fighting.
Yeah.
This and January are the worst of it.
Yeah.
And
Well, and that's where the situation
we'll see what
with
happens.
like long range weapons and with jets and with fighters, the Ukrainians anyways could make the situation more palatable for their soldiers by doing a lot more damage from the air and from distance, as opposed to it being trench
Mhm.
warfare during this period. Whereas the Republicans, listen to me, the Russians don't really have an option, right? They can't do air superiority. They don't have that power. They seem to. It's like in fits and starts. That's what I was talking about, where they keep losing planes and then stopping plane usage at all, and then they go back to just attrition with soldiers. So that's I think that's an option the Ukrainians have that the Russians do not have, which is long range weaponry striking into the territory. But there are a couple of things I want to run by you, just get your thoughts on them. One is that
Sure.
they announced that Ukraine has tripled its weapons production and of equipment this year, and it seems to me one of the long tails of this conflict will be that Ukraine becomes a weapons manufacturing hub for Europe because
100%.
they're not gonna, as long as Russia stands in some form, they're not gonna trust their safety or to the flippance of someone like Orban in Hungary or those kind of things. Any of those things happen in the future, they don't want to be caught flat-footed ever again. And it can be something they sell to the rest of the world that would undermine the sales that the Russians do, right?
Yeah.
So that seems to be
And they're getting foreign investment to do just that.
Right.
I mean, there's a private I can't I German is always a difficult language for me, but the German armor producer, the private armor producer, which of course has ties to the German government. They're building a tank factory here.
yeah,
They're building
exactly.
they're building shell production, ammunition, artillery production is being built here domestically for Ukraine, but I'm absolutely sure that at some point that it might be for export. Of course,
Exactly.
it's for better or worse. Yeah, there's going to be a weapons industry
Yep.
here that will be, and it's been proven. Look, it's also sadly again the best advertisement for weapons is how effective they are, and we've seen how effective Ukrainian weapons can be, even the
Right.
ones that like they make themselves,
Yeah.
you know,
Of course.
the ones that they kind of cobble together.
Well, we're also entering
Or
into
I say cobble together,
yeah,
that's too dismissive. They have a proper
it's
weapons
quality,
industry
right?
here.
Yeah, but they also they have been very adaptive, and again the drone wars have begun. Is what everybody keeps
Yeah.
saying, because that's absolutely true. Now there is I guess Bill Browder this week when he was on Times Radio said that his quote was, Putin could lose power like Gaddafi if the Ukraine war ends, regardless of whether it's, even if it's stopped right now, that there's a chance that all this for nothing essentially would drive an uprising in this. I'm on the fence about whether that's the case. I think he could kind of strategically hold on in spite of it, but I mean, it's not going to be pretty.
I mean, Browder, Browder, as much as I have deep respect for Bill Browder, I've met him a few times.
Mm-hmm.
He really, yeah, his thoughts on Putin's demise are often based, I think, on his best wishes for
Yes,
what would
maybe
happen.
so. Yeah,
Well, the man's tried to kill him.
yeah,
Putin has tried to kill Browder more times than
yeah,
more fingers and digits on your toes.
yeah.
He hates Putin, hates Browder,
Right,
hates Browder, because he's the architect of the Magnitsky Act,
right.
which is seizing assets, Russian assets
Absolutely.
around the globe, rightfully so.
Mhm.
Putin hates Browder, but his point has merit.
Yep.
I don't know. He may not be wrong because, and again, remember what I used to say to you at the very, very beginning of this war,
Yeah.
is that when it comes to Russia, nothing happens, nothing happens, nothing happens.
Yeah.
Everything happens all at once.
Yeah.
And there will come a time. There will come a time. Browder is right in this. He is right that Putin doesn't survive this.
Right.
There's no way that Putin survives this war. Even, you're right. I think even, okay, I'm thinking about it now. Browder, I mean, he may be spot on in the fact that it's all for nothing and it was a useless war and terribly orchestrated. And in the end, they're not going to win anything. Not really. In fact,
Right.
they're more likely to lose territory. Like forever. Like Crimea will never be Russian again, sort of thing.
Right.
And no Russian leader survives that. So he's it's an educated guess. It's an educated guess.
Right.
And I hope he's right, because Putin is a terrible leader and and he's terrible for Russia and he's terrible for Ukraine and he's terrible for Europe and the world. So I hope Bill Browder's right.
So I kind of love this, that Mark and or chat, thanks Mark, sent it via the staff chat, the footage of the CNN's footage of the explosion, right? Okay, so this is my favorite. Let's see if it plays or whatever. If it plays in there it is. Ukraine says it struck warship in Crimea. That's the footage. Somebody in his underwear filming out his window. Nice work, CNN. Just this dude filming out his window in his boxer briefs, and they managed to just show more of this dude's butt than they do of the explosion. Meanwhile, this is my favorite part. CNN cannot independently verify this video. Yeah, that's now your standard, really? What? That you don't believe he wears boxers or briefs? Is that the question? This is so stupid. Anyways, and chat, well done.
Well, now, also speaking about the media, did you see that General Zaluzhny had a press conference?
No, I did
I
not.
think it was yesterday. May have been the day before. Who I am deeply impressed with General Zaluzhny. I think he's we got so lucky that both the political and the military leadership in Ukraine are exceptional men.
Right.
Extreme talent and capability.
Yeah.
Anyhow, Zaluzhny's holding this press conference, and somebody asked him a question about something that was quoted in some Western paper. And he just went, I don't know where Western media gets half of its stuff. I mean, like, I don't even read it anymore because I don't know where they're getting this stuff. They're so wrong so often. And when I read that, my brain just burst a little bit.
Yeah.
Little
Yeah.
corpuscle in my brain went,
Right.
and like what's his name? In Pink in the Pink Panther.
Right.
It's
Yeah. Yeah.
just,
Herbert Loam. Yeah.
um, yeah, great performance, great performance.
I'm
And
cracking up. Right.
because they've all left. The press corps is gone.
Right.
The press corps is completely gone from here,
Yeah.
except for a few holdouts.
Right.
By and large, the press has found its new shiny object in Gaza. And oh, by the way, they have infrastructure in Israel. So they have offices and cars
Right.
and drivers, and there's infrastructure there. It's expensive for them to cover the Ukraine because they don't know whether or not they want to put in the money for it.
Right.
And to invest in making an office and things like that. I mean, cynically, that's my perspective on it.
Yeah.
But they've all but decamped from Ukraine. And so when Zelensky, I thought it was a great statement. And he was just like, I don't know, where do they get this stuff? I don't even know where
Right.
is this kind of, and he's right, because they're not here.
Yeah.
They're not here because it's not profitable.
Well, yeah,
for them to cover this war anymore.
I mean, if people understand what I'm saying, Israel is to war what Iowa is to politics. It's always first. It's there. It is because it's consistent. It's always consistent, and you can set up camp knowing that the next thing to pop off will pop off starting here more than likely. So, and it's a democratic country.
And people have been fighting over that territory. That patch of ground has been fought over, for thousands of years, and will be fought for again. And it does, actually. In all seriousness, I was having a conversation with somebody about this recently.
Yeah. And
I said to them that it really makes me angry because there's going to be another war in the Middle East. There always is.
Yeah.
It's just the nature of the place, sadly. And I hope that changes. I really do, sincerely. But in terms of consequences, in terms of how the world is going to shake out, this place is so much more important.
Right.
This place is so much. What happens here, the way this shakes out, who wins, who loses, what that win looks like, how that loss looks like, it's going to change Europe one way or the other. And by changing an entire continent, not least of which one of the most wealthy and influential and powerful continents on the planet, is going to have global implications. This war is going to change the world. What's happening in Gaza and Israel right now, as tragic as it is, and as awful as it is, and as much as my heart goes out, it ain't going to change much. It's not really going to change much. Maybe you get rid of an organization called Gaza. Maybe Netanyahu is kicked out of office. But how does that fundamentally change the situation in that region that hasn't changed for centuries? Whereas what happens here will actually have on the ground realistic consequences that will affect, if not us during our lives, Hal, you and I being Gen Xers, but certainly our children's lives. As Ukraine goes, so does Europe.
Right.
As Europe goes, so does the world, because everybody interacts with Europe. So, it's very frustrating to me, the coverage, and really actually the lack thereof, and the cynical just abandonment of this conflict. It's not good. So I was happy to see Zelensky take a swipe,
take a shot at him. Yeah.
Yeah, and say, well, you guys don't know what you're talking about. Well, and they're right too, because there does seem to be in the press, in the Western press, a bit of a doom spreading mentality, that Ukraine is lost, that it's all gonna go terrible, and well, you're not here anymore, guys. How do you know that?
Yeah, it's interesting that I would say the New York Times has had a very strange couple of pivots during the Gaza fight, as well as, and just running with stuff that isn't verified, and not saying it's not verified. and then running with other stuff that turns out not to be true, that they didn't bother to verify, or that they didn't running with stuff that turned out not to be true, that they ran without even noting that they couldn't verify it. Those kind of things. Like they playing slap dash with the rules and their explanations about stuff. And the biggest one being the Hamas death figures, because the clearest one is like, can you imagine if Russia
or
said,
the hospital?
Yeah, right. Well, yeah, and can you imagine if Russia said about that there are no that everyone in the Donbass and Crimea are civilians. Anybody, even uniformed soldiers, right? They're all civilians, and they're half are women and children and that kind of stuff. When that is clearly not the case. It is simply not possible even. I mean, I've talked about this on my show about the sort of the phraseology about how the New York Times talks about it and others, where you go, if you indiscriminate bombing in Gaza, they constantly say this: Israel indiscriminate bombing. You cannot have a death toll of 20,000 at the absolute max in the most densely populated area in the world if you are indiscriminately bombing. If you are indiscriminately bombing, the death toll would be in the hundreds of thousands, because there is no way people escape indiscriminate bombing. I don't care what happens. Like that, there is no way you have that many targeted killings and the narrowness of those deaths if you're indiscriminately bombing. Like, it's just the wording matters. You know what I mean? And it reaches a level of absurd. Half civilians to believe that. You lost me? Oh, you lost me?
Oh, you're back. You're back.
Okay,
I lost your audio for a second there.
Okay, sorry. So you can absolutely believe that it's wrong. You can believe that that they shouldn't happen. That's totally fine. But the idea that somehow the indiscriminate bombing thing is happening when you've got that kind of kill ratio is absurd. It just doesn't make any mechanical sense whatsoever. It doesn't make mathematical or statistical sense. It's just odd that you would stick to that you would use that phrase. It's like the use of genocide around it when their population is increased by double. The same thing is true.
And also they were taking the numbers from Hamas itself.
That's right.
As a journalist, you never take something that somebody gives you piecemeal.
Right. Especially if there's a political reasoning behind it, like it's you have to at least weigh it that much. That said, it's just an example of how Russia talks about the Donbass and how like civilian buildings and there's so many civilians there, and it's like, well, you backfilled Ukrainian areas with these civilians. You moved them in. You parked them there. And one of the people that there was a guy, we had another Russian propagandist who should be in a relatively protected space. This guy Anton Krasovsky. I don't know if you know him. He's anyways, he was poisoned along with this Russian actor who died of a heart attack. This guy Alexei Chernik.
Yeah.
And right. And like the last thing he posted was like a selfie of himself, but they were basically hanging out at the house, and the idea being that like Russia has a tendency to kill people and make them look gay when they die, even if they aren't, or out them through their deaths if they are, specifically timing it. They did it with one other guy earlier last year, I think. They had he had a escort in his house. Remember that? Okay, so just for people to be aware, Krasovsky, and this is from on his own Telegram, called for Ukrainian children to be drowned in the Canal River and burned in their houses. On the shelling of Ukraine on October 10th, he danced on his own Telegram. He posted a video of himself dancing, and he repeatedly justified the execution of prisoners of war, Ukrainian prisoners of war, including the guy who was castrated by Wagnerites on camera. So for those that don't know, this one soldier was castrated. They cut his genitals off and showed that on a Wagner Telegram channel. And this dude said that's
proud of it.
Yeah, he's proud of it, and said that's how they should all go. That's how they should end up. All the Russian POWs should end up in that.
Just that video released today of them, massacring prisoners of war.
Yeah,
shooting them. There's drone footage released today.
Yeah,
showing Russian soldiers executing prisoners of war. War
Yeah.
crime.
Yeah.
War crime.
Just
And it goes
gunning them
on
down.
and on
Yep.
and on and on.
And so that guy, he was at, I guess it's hard to say whether I doubt maybe he wasn't the target or they weren't expecting him to be there or whatever, because he survived. He's sick, but he probably won't live. But the actor that was with him, who's in this like pro-Russian TV show, is dead. Just on Christmas, just randomly,
Yep.
just dusting people off. And then on a lighter note, we've talked several times about whether or not Putin has doubles or whether he's alive or dead or any of that kind of stuff. And there was an article that I wanted to show you. This is
Well, I got a good one for you too today as well.
Oh, excellent. Okay,
but you go ahead.
All right, so this is from Katerina Schwartz. Putin has several doubles. An expert spoke about the different clones of the dictator. So this guy broke down, because they look at pictures of all the different appearances, and either he's bloaty McBloaterson and then he shrinks and then he bloats and then he bloats, or they really are using doubles more frequently. He goes, the respected double addressed a message to the National Assembly, the psychologist noted. At the Congress of the United Russia Party and the board of the Russian Ministry of Defense, it was not the real president of the Russian Federation, Putin. Both events were attended by the same double candidate of psychological sciences, Dmitry Popov, said in an interview with UNAIAN. At the Congress of the United Russian Party and at the Board of Ministry of Defense of the Russian Federation, there was the same Putin double. I see this from behavioral science. In my opinion, this is a respected double. They don't bring him to the media very often. Last time I saw him in February, he gave a message to the People's Assembly. That was him. He also heckled and puffed there, but he did his job very well. Putin also has a Crimean Mariupol double, Popov believes, whom no one feels sorry for. That's the one that gets sent to the front whenever they bundle him up and send him out there in snow clothes, and you can barely see his face. Or the person who
I love though is that I've heard this kind of narrative before, that there are different doubles for different positions and roles.
Gigs,
and
right.
Different guys for different gigs. It's just
listen to this though.
It would be comical.
I just found this funny. The person who came to the election commission to register instead of Putin is generally the one whom they do not feel sorry for. The same Crimean Mariupol version, whom they are ready to throw under the tanks and immediately forget about him. This is a straightforward version, standing out from its counterparts. A real rogue. I didn't even want to talk about him. He's an extra, said the psychologist. Because and again, this is an old picture of skinny Vlad here, and the reason they use this one is because you can see his bone structure, and everybody's like, his bone structure doesn't match. You're like, okay, yeah, he's puffy, and the cameras aren't that great, and whatever, simmer down. I just find it funny that this is now gaining steam as a conversation point. Everywhere.
Oh God, yeah. Oh yeah. No, there's people that go through every single picture with just every pixel is analyzed. But my story, if you hadn't heard it, did you know?
I don't know, maybe I have.
How recently have you been to a nearly naked party?
Is that a euphemism? Nearly.
So
okay,
here's the story.
Okay.
In the run up to New Year's Eve, because they don't really do Christmas, so in the holiday season, some rich actress, I believe it was, in Moscow decided, wouldn't it be fun to have a nearly naked party? The theme is nearly naked. So you're not naked, but you're nearly naked.
Right.
So people showed up in dresses that were very, see-through, and guys were wearing chaps or, impersonating the Red Hot Chili Peppers with tube socks and what have you.
Right.
And they're having a grand old time.
Oh, yeah.
They're partying it up in Moscow, and they're sexy and they're rich and they're decked out, and you can tell that these things are expensive dresses, even though they're minuscule. And everybody's champagne is everywhere. And it's like, hey, motherfuckers.
Right. People are dying.
Men.
Right.
You have young men, and the poor None of the guys who are out in the trenches right now fighting for your great Slavic empire that you want to recreate. None of those guys would ever be seen at one of your glitterati parties, but there you are,
Right.
having fun. I mean, talk about tone deaf. And one of the most,
Right.
one of the most famous women in Russia, Ksenia Sobchak, was there, who was a former. She is Putin's goddaughter,
Oh yeah. Right.
and and she's there in this. She looked great for a woman, or she looked great for Ksenia Sobchak of any age, but she's there doing the publicity thing, and photographs are being taken, and they're all hugging, and you're just sitting there going, how
realize, right?
How freaking tone deaf are you? I mean, if that happened here, or if that happened in the United States, I mean,
Right.
remember what happened when Newsom went to the French Laundry during COVID?
Right.
Everybody went ballistic.
Yeah.
Well, multiply that times 1,000, because you're at war.
Yeah.
It's not COVID. It's your young men. You are asking your young men and the poor of your society, and yes, admittedly, your prisoners who you take out of prisons and then somehow get rehabilitated by fighting.
Right.
You send them out into the cold, into the trenches, and then you go and do that in Moscow and have. Now, it did create a lot of Ksenia Sobchak.
Yeah.
In her. Yeah, no, she's looking good. That's a sexy dress, I got to admit.
Mm-hmm.
So this did actually create a controversy.
Yeah.
But here's what happened, right? So they didn't go after these guys for it. Now, there isn't really a law, but there isn't law in Russia anyhow. They could have thrown anything at them.
Right.
Or they could have looked into their taxes. They could have done 1,000,001 different things.
Right.
What did they do? A couple of days later, after the controversy and the outcry, such as it is, they raided a couple of these people's homes. What do you think they went for? What did you think they charged these people for?
Being gay. Right. No.
Bingo!
Yeah.
Bingo. Got it in one.
Oh, look at that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Russia's infamous what they call the LGBTQ propaganda law.
Yeah.
Which is to say, if you promote a homosexual or a non-cis sexual persona, that you are promoting gay, lesbian, bisexual, whatever, non-binary sexual proclivities.
Yep.
And that is illegal in Russia. This is the kind of land in which they live. But I just found it was funny that they didn't go and arrest them and let's look into their taxes. What are these motherfuckers dancing around drinking?
Yeah, totally.
Drinking Moet, drinking Dom Perignon, and guzzling caviar and dressing in designer,
How dare they when poor people are dying?
Just flooding money.
Nope.
Just throwing money.
Nope.
While people are dying at the front. No. Gay.
Well, here's the thing. That's that if you did it that way, you'd have to lock up the hot chicks is the idea. Whereas this way you can just lock up the men, and you can lock up the gay men in particular, and it gives you an excuse to do what you would have done anyways. I'm surprised I got it in one. I gotta say, yeah.
It was a short list, admittedly, but well done.
Thanks. Yeah.
But I mean, it's just this is why Ukraine is fighting so hard.
Yeah.
Because now look, could something happen here like that? Absolutely, something like that could happen here. But it's just indicative of this the system in Russia, which is this binary. You either have power or you don't. You're either on top or you're on the bottom. There's nobody in the middle.
Right.
Except for a very small little middle class, which hardly exists, like my friend with her dacha down in Feodosia. But that is uncommon. It is either the very wealthy and decadent, like these guys getting caught at their barely naked party.
Right.
Or it's you are grist for the mill for the state.
Yeah.
And that's what the Ukrainians don't want to live like anymore. I mean, the contrast couldn't be sharper.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I saw this. I saw the. I don't even want to call it celebrations. I saw the. Okay, so this year was the first year officially that Ukraine celebrated as a nation state, Christmas on the 25th of December. It was a slight to
Right.
Orthodox Christmas, which happens on the 7th. So this was kind of a big year for Ukraine for it being the 25th of December is now officially Christmas, and heretofore will be that.
Right.
And there were a whole bunch of videos that were put out by different organizations and things like that, and they were all deeply, deeply somber. I mean, like
Right.
really conscious of beautiful. If you don't
Right.
shed a tear on some of these things, you don't have a heart.
Yeah.
But the whole mentality was it was either defiantly like beautiful and we're going to be we're going to have the summer or the winter solstice and we're going to commemorate that,
Yeah.
or it was deeply somber. But it wasn't gaudy. It wasn't running around half naked at a Christmas party kind of thing,
Right.
or and it's a very different mentality here than in Russia. And this is what the Ukrainians are fighting for. They want to live a very different kind of life and have
Right.
a very different society than what Russia offers. And
Right.
these things that I mean, like you know, uh, the outrage at the party, or
Yeah.
the kind of downplaying of the sinking of the ship, or there's a video out there of a guy, you know, desperately trying to catch up to his armored vehicle to try and get on. And he can't get on. He's a Russian guy.
Right.
He can't get on, and they just leave him. They just leave him. You know,
Right.
um, it's just they don't. The Ukrainians do not want to live like the Russians do. They have a
Yeah.
different value system. They have a different mentality and culture, and
Right.
it's just that they've been tied in this loveless shotgun marriage for hundreds of years, shacked up with with a serial alcoholic abuser,
Hmm.
and they finally decided to leave. That's
Right.
what
Right.
that's what this is. That's
Yeah.
what this is.
Absolutely.
But
I want to remind everybody
anyhow,
to
yeah.
check out your vlogs, because I'm sure you'll be covering the next nearly naked party in Kiev when this is all done. I think
When this
celebrating.
is all done,
Yeah,
when this is well, actually, in all
totally
seriousness,
naked.
man, the amount you know, do you know how many babies are being born
Right.
this year in Ukraine?
Right.
Because
Hmm.
that's a good stress reliever.
It sure
And
is.
if you're stuck in a bomb shelter, or if you're stuck under an
And it's
area center
cold. Gets cold. It
and
gets
it's
cold. It's
cold,
one way to stay
it's just,
warm.
there is going to be a population. I have no doubt that there is going to be a population boom
Right.
recorded in coming years. But
Hmm.
yeah, but the naked parties were definitely when I got a buddy of mine. He has just left the military. He was with the Territorial Army,
Right.
the Territorials, and he's joined a information warfare group.
Right.
And when I first met him, he said, I went out and I said, hey, let's go get a beer. And he said, no, until the war's over, as long as I'm in uniform, I'm not drinking.
Nice.
I've taken a vow. I'm not going to drink until I'm out of uniform. Well, he just left he just left the military,
Right.
and he joined this information. I said, we can go get a beer now, right? And he's like, no, not until we win.
Oh,
Not
that's
until
great.
we win. When we win, I'll have a beer.
Nice.
But not until then. So
Hmm.
I mean, this is a very. I mean, it's weird. This is
Yeah.
coming back. I got back on the 25th. I got back on Christmas.
Yep.
I got off the train with about 45 minutes to spare. I got back to my apartment with about half an hour left on the clock as far as Christmas was concerned. But in talking to the people on the train, talking to people that since I've been back, either DMing with them and saying, "Hey, let's make plans for now that I'm back," and that kind of stuff. There's still a holiday going on here, but there's just this sense of, God, let's make this the last Christmas that we're at war.
Yeah.
Let's this time next year, let's not have Christmas in a war zone,
Yeah.
please.
Right.
You know, so we'll see how things go. I mean, we kind of, not, whether you're religious or whether you like New Year's Eve or whatever, your birthday, or I know you kind of use your birthday as a bookend
Yes, I do. That's
for
right.
a year. Yeah. I mean, whatever you use and a lot of people use Christmas and New Year's as a bookend.
That's right.
So there is a distinct attitude and a sense of things here of, let's make this the last Christmas
Mhm.
at war, please.
Agreed.
Can we not? There's a absolutely beautiful one, an ad put out by the armed forces of Ukraine, with soldiers singing various Christmas carols amongst all the destroyed buildings and everything. Have yourself a merry little Christmas.
Right.
I'll be home for Christmas. All this kind of stuff, and it's just, you sit there and you can just go, these guys don't deserve this.
Yeah.
Let's give them all the weapons that they need, and let's stop this. And
Right.
I'm still optimistic about what's going to happen on the Hill.
Yeah.
I'm positive, though, there will be funding. There will be more funding. Biden did sign more funding.
Yep.
More is to come.
Yep. And there's still stuff
I
like
think,
in the Lend-Lease and in the system that will feed into it until the spring at the very least. What they're trying to do is the bigger funding will ultimately be to backfill what's in the United States. And that's what Republicans are slowly realizing. It's why the NDAA passed. It's why the funding bill for it will pass in February. Like, a lot of this is just a bunch of jerk around. There was a quick question in the chat
which is
from last Saturday.
unfortunate.
Yeah, last Saturday. Is Phil aware of any American contracting companies working in that area in this conflict? And I think you mean like military contractors or building as far as rebuild stuff, because I know there is that stuff going on too, but let's go with either.
There's definitely contractors in the sense of NGOs and aid and support. There are guys who are running logistics, driving in vehicles. You fundraise, you get a couple of 4x4s, and you drive them from Poland down here, and then you give them to this unit or that unit.
Right.
That kind of thing is happening. There are people under there's the Legion. There's the foreign. They're paid by the Russian, by Kiev. They're paid by the Ukrainian, military. So they're not contractors as such. They're armed. They're
militia.
foreign
Militia.
legion.
They're foreign militia. Yeah.
They're a foreign legion for Ukraine. People who join the territorials. Sarah Ashton Cirillo is a member of the territorials. But if you're talking about like Blackwater kind of thing, like that kind of contracting, I'm not aware of that happening.
No.
I'm not aware of that happening.
Yeah, me either.
To say that they don't have a personnel problem, would be sticking your head in the sand. I mean, just this week, they're sending out notices to Ukrainians who may live abroad or may have left, who are men of fighting age, and they're asking them to come back. Almost to the point of like a conscription notice, even though you're in London.
Right.
If you're a Ukrainian national, you could very well get an email or electronic summons on your phone saying you got to come back. We got a war to fight. It's controversial. It's controversial here.
Right.
But we'll see how that goes. It's not easy. This war is not easy, and they're trying to keep up their spirits. But it's this is a brutal, drag out, existential war that's happening on both sides of the equation. I know where I stand. Clearly I stand with the Ukrainians,
right.
And I'm not going anywhere.
Me too.
We have to recognize this is a nasty, nasty war.
Right.
Let's just make sure that the Ukrainians win it. There's all this talk of a shortage of artillery rounds. There's There's some complaints about some of the kit that may have been sent over. I know they love the Bradley.
Yeah.
They're very, very happy with the Bradley.
Mm-hmm.
They're very, very happy with our really old armored personnel carrier, the M113. They like that a lot. Of course, the Patriots,
Right.
the HIMARS. But let's give them the longer range. I mean, it'll be interesting to see if the recent attack in Feodosia that sank the transport ship,
Right.
because that's British French, whether or not that'll kind of provoke America, or whether it'll deter America because you start striking deep into Russia. We'll have to see, but we could definitely step it up when it comes to giving the longer range missile system. So
yeah, I think it's the irony of it. I think the irony of it is that ultimately it's cheaper, and so when when the Republicans start strangling the budget with the idea that they're going to slow down this war, is that kitting out a bunch of soldiers and kitting out a bunch of tanks and kitting out a bunch of armored personnel carriers and getting them all over there, and moving them and all that kind of stuff is way more logistically expensive than sending missiles. Long range, big missiles. Though the missiles are expensive, they are easier to transport. You don't have to transport them as far in. There's you can.
Well, and a lot of these armored systems, the M113s and the Bradleys in particular, have probably been mothballed, which means you have to reinstate them.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta get them working again and send them over. Probably not the case with the F-16s or the HIMARS.
Mm-hmm.
We gave them older versions of Abrams, so those would have had to have been. And we also didn't want to have, some of these weapon systems had sensitive equipment in them that we didn't want falling into the hands of the Russians.
Right.
So we had to go through each one of them and remove some sensitive stuff, if that was the case with that particular weapon system.
Mm-hmm.
But by and large, we just need to absolutely, artillery is number one.
Yeah.
We got to keep giving them artillery. Got to keep giving them barrels, so that they can replace the barrels when the artillery systems, warp those barrels because they're firing so much of them. We got to give them, more drones. We got to give them night vision goggles. I've heard that a lot.
Yep.
It just, and it's been the continual frustration of this war is the fact that are we for their victory or not? And if we're for their victory, then let's do it. Let's do it. And the more we dither, and kind of wring our hands about what we're supposed to be doing and how much aid and how much support and what are we going to give, and do we believe Moscow's red line this time, again and again and again, it ends up that all it means is more Ukrainians are going to die.
Well, I would argue it's
ultimately we're going to have to stand.
It's the same situation with the concept of a Hamas ceasefire. The problem is that ceasefires, while it sounds like fewer people die when you have a ceasefire, ultimately when you have someone who on one side is in such bad faith about it, in the case of Hamas or Russia, all it does is give them time to plan or reload. You get when you get them on their heels, the
famous Boris Johnson visit.
Yes,
where everybody who is anti, American support for the war, or anti-American or anti-Ukrainian, does this whole thing about how and now Putin is supposedly floating the idea of peace talks, which is another thing that the New York Times said, at least we have to listen to him. Well, no, we don't, because he's a liar and it's a distraction,
right?
And it's propaganda.
I'll tell you what, you want to listen to him? Here's my idea: go listen to him. Go stay in a hotel a block from the Kremlin for a month, then let me know how the cement tastes when you write one sentence out of order and you end up being being sent out a window. For fuck's sake, you're talking about a guy who was in the KGB. At least act like it. You got to lead with that. Like, this guy would. If our president was in the CIA, can you imagine the articles that would be written about? Well, Biden is a former head of the CIA or is a former CIA agent, because that's the odd thing. It's like Putin wasn't even the head of the KGB. He was just an actual agent, the kind of guy who did it on the like a street agent. He was the guy who did it face-to-face killings, face-to-face manipulations, tortures, all that kind of stuff. That's what he did, and manipulating world leaders and all that kind of stuff. If Joe Biden was a fucking CIA agent back in the day, every article written in the New York Times or others would go, well, when negotiating, our world leaders are often concerned because the president, as a former CIA agent, knows how to manipulate people or whatever. Like, honest to God. Can you imagine them not writing an article about it? Yes, George H.W. Bush is a great example of a guy who actually was, right. And that was a major factor. That was in every article about him was, head of the CIA and dealing with China, has relationships with China, as his time at the CIA and China being concerned about CIA, due to Vietnam and Cambodia and all that kind of stuff. All of that shit was written about when he was in there. Meanwhile, when Vladimir Putin is a snuff agent for the KGB who was left alone in rooms with Donald Trump at Donald Trump's order with no note takers present and only the Russian translator there, came out looking like he just had a colonoscopy with a porcupine and or a pine cone on a stick. And then everybody's like, well, there's just two world leaders just talking and shooting the shit. Like, get out of here.
Yeah. I still want to know what happened to that damn binder. Jesus, that 10-inch binder that Meadows was running around like a maniac trying to get.
That's right. I think the chat room is of the opinion that it's in Ivana's coffin. Because it's all the stuff that it's the unredacted stuff that would make him look bad. So you can't burn it, so you just get rid of it. Yeah. So, anyways, I have to bail out. Hi, Tony Michael's party.
Yeah. Hey, by the way,
roll back and watch the show.
By the way, brought this back from NYC. That is Lady Liberty's torch, and I will be shining
that's awesome
here in Kiev until this damn war is over.
What we do. Love you, brother. Be safe.
There we go.
Take care of yourself.
All right, man.
Yep.
Enjoy the other holidays.
Absolutely.
Best of all the family and all the rest of it.
We'll see. We may be having a best of on Saturday because it's a travel day. So
sure.
Unless I can talk Johnny into taking on the show on his own, which would be one day, it would be lovely to see. But we'll see. But either way, take care of yourself, and I'll see you soon.
Excellent. All right, guys.
All right. There he goes. Ladies and gentlemen, our dear friend Philip Ittner. Follow him on all your socials and your medias. And he's going to go get some, he's going to get filthy wings. And I'm going to go eat my food. I am here for the holidays. I will be doing a show later on. It may be a little later, about a half hour later, depending on what their dinner plans are. If that's okay, so that people don't have to come in and do the show like come in and go, God, we have a reservation. I'll let you guys know. I'll post it. So it's the holiday week. So if my schedule's a little more fluid, I apologize. But join me when and if you can. And I adore you guys. And thanks so much. And thanks for all the likes and the subscriptions and the hype trains. And we will see you very soon.